I'm Kama Bruce, lower school head at St. Andrew's Episcopal School. And over the last 6 years, I've had a wonderful opportunity of being an instructional leader for this phenomenal community. And I cannot speak more highly and more proudly of the amount of work that our learning community writ large has done to make this massive pivot towards virtual learning in this social distancing landscape. And all of this has been prefaced on three core values that guide our lower school learning experience. The first of which is relationships. We spend a huge amount of time and energy emphasizing the importance of relationships in our normal program. When we sought to translate this to the distance learning environment for which students were isolated from one another, we thought deeply about how we could continue to reinforce and allow students to grow in relationship with each other. To satisfy these requirements and this idea, we really wanted to make sure that kids got daily experiences with each other so that way they could be seen, heard, and understood and feel empowered by this experience and not overwhelmed or deeply conflicted by the experience, which we know is quite challenging. Morning meeting, for example, is one of the things that allows children to connect on a daily basis. By the virtue of our community, we have a large number of teachers that are able to celebrate these experiences with children. So it's not just homeroom teachers, but also our vertical and our support team teachers that are able to step in and work with children during morning meeting, which allows for small group opportunities so that each child can share, each child has a voice, every story is heard, and children are able to laugh and find joy and laughter and excitement in these morning meetings. Additionally, we also have a weekly chapel at 8:30 in which the community is invited to participate. It gives the children a chance to celebrate what they're grateful for, to think about who in their lives they might want to pray for, but then additionally, the opportunity for them to participate. And we've seen children provide offerings like playing the violin in chapel, providing readings, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience to have the community be able to come together in this way. And lastly, we also provide experiences throughout the learning day when children are able to go to their synchronous learning classes and they're able to laugh and play with each other, play games, share stories. So the idea of growing in relationship doesn't just happen in morning meeting or in chapel, but throughout the day in all of these different synchronous environments in which the teachers are really emphasizing the importance of engagement and connection. Next, we really thought deeply as a core value about the nature of voice and choice and the joy of learning, recognizing that every child is going through a very, very interesting and unique home learning experience, and with varied levels of developmental independence and support at home. We also wanted to make sure that children, as they went through and thought about the different activities that were available to them, could make sure that they could pick an activity where they could feel successful, where they had high levels of interest, but even more than that, where they could demonstrate and show their learning, which is one of the key things that really drives us as a learning community is that we're so deeply interested in the learning process and how children are able to show us what it is that they're learning and how they're thinking about something. And in that process of sharing those thoughts, those ideas, those understandings of their own learning, they're also able to get feedback from teachers, which is an essential component as well, is that as children share their learning, we as teachers, as educators, are able to lean into that space and offer feedback. And so we didn't want to pull that away from children, but rather to lean into that and to provide more feedback as much as we possibly could into this landscape so that children continue to feel engaged, supported, and enriched as they're going through this learning experience. And then lastly, we thought deeply about the unique journey that every family is going through, knowing that in some families, adults are really going to be fettered by a lot of their own professional obligations throughout the course of the day, that children may not be able to get the same access to one-on-one support as they would at school. So creating a lot of voice and choice helped with that, but then also creating a lot of flexibility within the schedule was a huge boon to this understanding. Throughout this process, we also very much approached it from a space of humility, recognizing that we were going to be learning a great deal from our parent community as well as they went through this learning process and started to understand what the home learning landscape was going to look like. And so as we gathered feedback, we wanted to make sure that we were able to make tweaks and small pivots to adjust to the needs of our community as we learned from them. And throughout this whole process, we've been uniquely and very distinctly sort of keyed in on the emotional capacity of children as well, recognizing that this home learning environment is a complex emotional space and that children are going through this in their own unique way. And we wanted to make sure that children had space to be able to process that, but that they also felt like they could be successful and supported. So sometimes we had children who were just attending our Zoom sessions, our synchronous Zoom sessions, just to stay connected. And that was really where they were at that time as we were starting those initial stages. And as we built capacity over time, we saw that children were more and more able to pull on more work, more independent work, more successful learning experiences as they were able to adapt to the tools that we were using. And that sort of brings me to the next point, which is that one of the things that we thought deeply about as well was how many different avenues of communication were we using and how many different spaces were children and families asked to navigate when they were going through this process. Because we all know that the simpler a home learning experience is, the easier it is for an adult to support a child to have a successful learning experience. And so we use primarily Seesaw and Google Classroom as vectors of communication that involve the child. When we think about the parents, we reach out via email, and we do that the weekend before the week really gets going. And that gives parents an idea of what's coming, what the week is going to look like, what the schedule is going to be. So that way families can really sit down and start to say, this is what our week is going to look like. We can focus on some expectation management. We can really be successful. We can start to even think about maybe some of the activities that we want to focus on and be prepared for those. So really it was this idea of how can we really make sure that we have open lines of communication, open lines of feedback, and really approach this as a learning community. And I cannot tell you, in the 6 years as an instructional leader, how proud I am of how much the parent community has been in support of our home learning experience and what we've developed as a key group of educators who were really focused on developing a research-based, highly informed and highly engaging home learning experience. That interplay has been wonderful to watch. And moreover, as a parent, having a kindergartner and a first grader, watching them really lean into these activities with excitement and enthusiasm and curiosity is one of the most exciting things I've seen as an educator as well. And so really to sum this up, I really want to bring it back to those three things, is that we continue as a lower school to focus on relationships, the joy of learning, and the unique journey that every child is going through, and creating a program that was not only flexible, but adaptable, and really thought deeply about making sure we maintained all of those things that bind us together as a learning community, but that also create a very, very empowering and validating experience for children, was one of the key features we wanted to keep in mind as we went through this environment of home learning and social distancing. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you found this video enriching for your own home learning experience. Thank you so much.